So Pilate took Jesus and scourged him. Now that's a short little sentence. It's a horrible thing to go through. It's a wonder Jesus lived through it, but that's not how he was supposed to die. And when the soldiers had woven a crown of thorns, they placed it on his head and dressed him up in a purple robe. And they began to say, "Hail, King of the Jews!" and to slap him in the face. Then again Pilate went out and said to them, "Behold, I bring him out to you, that you may know that in him I find not one basis for a charge." Then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple garment. No doubt they laughed at him. And the other Gospels tell us that when they put that crown of thorns, they beat it into his head. And he expected them to have some pity for the poor creature. Isaiah said when they ripped out his beard and slapped him and beat him, put the crown of thorns, and thorns would have made his head swell. Isaiah said he didn't look human. His face was marred beyond the sons of men. That means beyond human. So he brings him out. The Jews have ripped out his beard and spit on him, beat him. The Romans have slapped him, crown of thorns, and beaten that down into his head, and scourged him. Everywhere he walks, he leaves a trail of blood wherever he goes now. And he brings him out, this subhuman looking creature, and says, "Behold the man. You see what I've done to him? Isn't this enough? What, you still want more? He's innocent. I don't find anything worthy of a criminal charge against him. He may be a little loony, but that's not a crime. Here he is. We've made fun of him. Can't you see how goofy he looks with a purple robe? Behold the man." But when the chief priests and the officers saw him, they cried out, saying, "Crucify! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "You take him yourselves and crucify him. I find in him no basis for a charge." The Jews answered and said, "We have a law, and according to our law, he ought to die because he made himself out to be a son of God." Now, when Pilate heard this statement, he was more afraid. And he went back into the praetorium and said to Jesus, "Where are you from?" Now, his wife has already had a dream and sent him a message and said, "Have nothing to do with that righteous man. I've suffered many things in a dream this night because of him." And Pilate was discerning that they were just envious of him. And now they're saying that he's heard about the miracles. Now they're saying that he claims to be one of the sons of the gods. That's how Pilate is thinking. And he's starting to think maybe now if I crucify one of the sons of the gods, I could be setting myself up for something here. So he pulls back again. Jesus trails blood back into the praetorium. And he looks into his bloody, swollen eyes and said, where'd you come from? But Jesus did not give him an answer. Therefore Pilate said to him, "You do not speak to me? You do not speak to me? Do you not understand that I have authority to crucify you? And I have authority to release you?" Jesus answered, "You would have no authority over me at all unless it were given to you from above. This is why he who turned me over to you has the greater sin." Phew, you know something went down Pilate's back when he said that. From that moment, Pilate sought to release him. Now, many a time men had sought to kill him, but his hour had not yet come. Now it's his hour, and Pilate can't turn him loose. But the Jews cried out, saying, "If you release this man, you are not a friend of Caesar. Every man who makes himself a king opposes Caesar." Well, that was it. Tiberius was Caesar at this time. The reign of terror was in Rome at this time. The reign of terror, and he wasn't even in Rome. Tiberius was so paranoid he refused to live in Rome. He lived on the island of Capri, some miles off the coast, for years. He was so paranoid about people trying to assassinate him. And he was so sick and perverse with little boys that he was so paranoid that if anybody whispered to him that such and such a senator was talking rebellion against you, he would just order their execution and reward the whisperer with his house and lands and riches. Now, if you are envious of somebody's house and land and riches, what are you going to do? You're going to pay for a boat ride out to Capri to talk to Tiberius about hearing that guy say bad things about you. And if he sent his soldiers to your house and ordered you to surrender your 6-year-old little boy for the next 2 or 3 years for Tiberius's sick entertainment, what are you going to do? You say no, you have no more life. You're dead. And the kid's going no matter what you want. A few years ago, I told you the story about a poor old sailor, not a sailor, a fisherman, somewhere around in this area to the west of Italy, who happened to catch in his net a very rare fish. It was considered one of the best delicacies among the most wealthy people in the empire. And he got it in his heart, well, the emperor's here on Capri, I'll just pull my boat to shore and take him this fish to honor him. So he did. He pulled ashore, got out with that very rare, delicious fish, whatever it was, I've forgotten the name of it. Made the hard trek up to the top of the mountain there. And when Tiberius heard that he was there, he got so angry. He ordered his soldiers to take that fish that had rough scales and scrub the skin off his face with it for not getting permission to come to that island. He was so paranoid he wanted nobody on that island unless he summoned them. And nobody ever went. That's the emperor. They're saying, we'll send word to Tiberius that there's a man here claiming to be king instead of you, and Pontius Pilate let him go. What do you think is going to happen to you, Pontius? So that was the end of the story. Pilate considered his own life more valuable than Jesus's. And anytime you do that, you make a mistake. When Pilate heard them say that, he knew they were going to send messages to Caesar about him if he turned him loose. He led Jesus outside and sat on the judicial bench in the place called Lysistratus, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. Now it was the preparation of the Passover, about the 6th hour. And he said to the Jews, "Behold your king." He was angry with them. And I bet he had more respect for Jesus at that moment than he did for them. He thought Jesus was worth more than they were. Behold your king. But listen to what these leaders of God's people said. They cried out, away with him. That's killing. Away, crucify him. Pilate said to them, shall I crucify your king? The chief priest answered, we have no king but Caesar. Now that is them sealing their damnation. They know that God's law for the Jews said you are to have no foreign king. You can have a king, you'll demand one after a while, Moses told them, but no foreigner. And here they are saying we have no king but a foreigner. We thoroughly reject the law just to get rid of Jesus.
They would have never said that other than just being insane with hatred.
No way. You couldn't have paid them to say that the week before. But they hated the truth so much that they went insane with their hatred. They would stop at nothing. They had him, and they were not going to let him go. We have no king but Caesar. How about you, Pilate? Who's your king? So he then handed him over to them to be crucified.